Nice, Wesley. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. We love you. All right. So, morning, good afternoon, buenos días, bienvenidos. ¿Cómo están? Estamos bien aquí, más o menos. We are good here. Welcome to Triumph Life Center's virtual spiritual gathering. It is Sunday, March 21st, 2021, and it's noon here on the East Coast of the United States. We'll start with our quote by Ellen R. Sachs. No one would ever say that someone with a broken arm or a broken leg is less than a whole person. But people say that or imply that all the time about people with mental illness. That quote kind of starts us off on our theme for today. We're continuing to celebrate Women's History Month, and we'll specifically be speaking about mental health. So, no longer a slave to fear, destigmatizing mental health. A discussion that we always enjoy having here at Triumph. For our outline today, we have our usual some reading, some poetry, some music, sacred readings, our meditation that we do together. Then we'll start our discussion, and everyone, you're welcome to speak, unmute, join in the conversation with us. And then we'll close out and say goodbye around 1:15. So our scripture reading, Galatians 6:2-3, the Passion Translation. Love empowers us to fulfill the law of the Anointed One as we carry each other's troubles. If you think you are somebody too important to stoop down to help another, when really you are not, you are living in deception. Thank you. So I'll start with the meditation. You can begin by taking a nice deep breath. I'll strike my singing bowl. When I strike the bowl, as it resonates, I invite you to take a deep breath in and hold and exhale through your mouth. And you can let out any sort of sigh or moan or groan that you like. And I'll share a passage. As I read, continue your breath. Greet your body. Breathe. Feel the air enter your lungs. Breathe. Feel millions of oxygen atoms permeating your lung membranes, entering your bloodstream, being delivered to every cell in your body, feeling the fire of life within you. Mother is feeding you. She feeds you and sustains your life with every breath. Let your consciousness move down to your feet. Keep going down to the floor, to the ground, and penetrate the ground with your consciousness as though you were growing roots into the earth. Deeper and deeper. Sense her massiveness, her ever-abidingness. Feel her. Feel her hold you to her. Gravity is her embrace. Feel her love. Allow her love to flow into you, up through the soles of your feet, through your legs and torso, to your heart, your shoulders, your head. Bathe in her love and breathe. Let her love permeate every cell. Let your heart fill with her love. Let it swell with love from her and for her. She nurtures you in every way. The air that you breathe is her. The food that you eat is her. Let your love and gratitude grow. Let it flow out to her, to Father, Son, and to all your brothers and sisters of the plant and animal kingdom. We are all Mother's children, beloved by her, nurtured and protected from the harsh reality of outer space. I'll strike the bowl and I invite you to take a few more breaths. And notice how your body changes after those breaths. Release any tension. Let out any sighs. And come back to this virtual space that we have created together. We've strengthened ourselves and an expression of unity, love, and purpose to better relate to ourselves, to others, and the environment. Ashe. Thank you for joining me. That felt really nice. By the way, that passage is from an essay called The Evolution of an Ecofeminist by Julia Schofield Russell. All right. So hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Brenda. I'm happy to be here with you all today. I enjoy our Sundays together, our discussions, and everything that we learn. Again, today's March 21st, the third Sunday in March, and it's springtime. So welcome to spring of 2021. We made it. Hi, everyone that is in the Zoom room. We have a friend from Nigeria here with us virtually, so thank you for joining us, Jason. We have our team. Hi, everyone. Senior Bishop is here. I see Beverly is here. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. And everyone that's watching us online, on Facebook, what's up? We see you. We love you. Thank you for supporting us and being here with us today. Everyone that's listening, you're welcome at any time to unmute or utilize the chat box or any comments online, and we will acknowledge and address. And we love to hear your voices and your opinions and your words. March is National Mental Health Month, and today we'll continue the celebration of Women's History Month with the theme, No Longer a Slave to Fear, Destigmatizing Mental Health. We also want to acknowledge today, or this weekend in particular, is our first year. I guess it's been 1 year since everything happened with COVID-19 and the pandemic, and we shut down our Brooklyn location. We were meeting in person on Sundays in Canarsie, Brooklyn, but we started meeting virtually. So here we are. It's been a whole year that we've been having our virtual time together, our virtual spiritual gatherings, which is very exciting, and it went by really fast, actually. I'm pretty amazed. And again, honestly, just a plug, if you want to check out our YouTube channel, we have a lot of our recordings from the sessions of the past year, so you can see even just how we've grown over time, or any specific topics, any guests that you would like to rewatch. You're welcome to see that on our YouTube channel. You could just type in Triumph Life Center. We also want to acknowledge all of the hate crimes and racist acts of violence against Asian Americans in our country. And it kind of all is manifesting in this one large event, or this mass shooting that happened in Atlanta, Georgia. So our hearts are really with those families, and knowing that that is just one incident that the news, the media, mainstream media chose to focus on, but that these are events that are happening every day, everywhere, in our own community too, in New York, where I'm at, in Boston. So really keeping in mind that that comes from fear and ignorance and hatred overall. That's where that comes from. And it really hurts. It's really sad. But we are here for our community. And if there's anything that we can do to support, whether it just be a listening ear, any sort of tangible support, please let us know. We're always here for you. We also want to shout out a community member, Miss Gertrude, who is always in our hearts. We love you and we send you positive energy for your health and wellness. We love you. And also for the other Gertrude, for Wesley's Gertrude, we love her too. And we send her positive vibes as well. So today, again, like I said, we have music, we have poetry, we have some reading bits from articles that we want to share about mental health, that hopefully we can spark some conversation and just learn a little bit together and share our experiences and our stories. So again, feel free to join in the conversation. It's our aspiration that this gathering will inspire you to live your best life. So relax, continue to breathe, enjoy yourself. We love you. As always, the Christ in me celebrates the Christ in you, and together we'll make our world brand new. Welcome to Triumph. So our life-affirming principles are basis of union. First, we affirm that life is in the breath, and breath is life. Therefore, we join together to promote our shared humanity and inseparable breath. Second, we affirm that we are born whole, complete as perfect manifestations of the universal mind, or Christ. Third, we affirm our physical bodies differ, and as such may present different challenges, limitations, or privileges that everyone may not share in. Therefore, we join together to share our strengths and support one another where there may be weaknesses so that we may all enjoy the fullness of life. Fourth, we affirm that our agreement is to pursue peace, walk in truth, uphold justice, tempered with mercy. Fifth, we affirm that we are like branches on a tree. Although we may grow in different directions, we share a common root, and as such, we pledge to respect each person's path, even as it may differ from one's own. We agree to walk in agreement, that it's all right to disagree, and we protect and safeguard this right in so much as the state of disagreement upholds an affirmation of life. Sixth, we affirm that community building is the process of communal shared principles, shared resources, as well as equitable access to resources. Therefore, we commit to being agents of an open culture that welcomes everyone to participate in the life of the community, with the provision that we also hold each other accountable for acts that do not support the life-affirming principles of our awareness, while equally looking for and enacting a commitment to forgive and restore in the spirit of humility and love. And finally, we affirm the earth and all that dwell therein are manifestations held within the universal mind, and humanity's role is to be faithful stewards of this earth by demonstrating respect and dignity for all beings, the sacredness of Mother Earth, and our commitment to caring for her, just as we care for ourselves. Today, we will share this music video that Miss Sandra found. It's called No Longer Slaves. And this is a cover by a father and son. So give me one moment while I open it. I'll move us out of the way.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. This one, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into a family. Your blood flows is your melody. You surrounded us with songs. We've been born again into your kingdom. Your blood flows through our veins. We no longer slaves to fear. We are the sons of God. We no longer slaves to fear. We are the sons of God. I am surrounded by the hands of the Father. I am surrounded by sons of deliverance. We've been liberated from our bondage. We're the sons and the daughters. Let us sing our freedom. Jesus died for us, that we might be set free. We are the sons, we are the daughters, we are the sons, we are the daughters. No more sickness, no more disease, no more infirmity. Heaven is ours. We are liberated. We are free, free, free at last, free at last. Of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God.
Whoa. That was amazing. Okay. I'm gonna put the web address in the chat if you'd like to access it again in the future. That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I saw someone shared it on social media, and it was just so moving, the father and son together. So I had to share it, and I thought it just fit right in with our conversation for today. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All right. No longer slaves. Let's see. What do we have next?
Let me just share that our brother from Nigeria is having some trouble hearing us, so he just went out to try to reconnect. So we'll just send some positive vibes that way across the sea, he is able to reconnect and can hear us clearly.
That's cool. I'm glad he's here. Opening prayer, unity of all Hanto Yo. Hanto Yo means clear the way in the Lakota. Let us pray, God of surprises, you call us from the narrowness of our traditions to new ways of being church. from the captivities of our culture to creative witness for justice, from the smallness of our horizons to the bigness of your vision. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to freedom and renewed faith. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to wholeness and integrity. Great Spirit, you call us from fear to faithfulness, from clutter to clarity, from a desire to control to deeper trust, from the refusal to love to a readiness to risk. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might all know the beauty and power and danger of the gospel.
Ashe.
Ashe, thank you. So, a little bit about Triumph. We opened on October 19th, 2019, under Triumph, the Church of the New Age International, founded in 1904. We seek to further the work of founder Bishop Elias Dempsey Smith, who had a vision of a New World system that he fully believed was attainable through the shared practice of spiritual principles that would lead to our collective awakening or higher expression of the divine. Our vision is of an interdependent community formed from the tapestry of our individual and collective experiences of the divine that fosters both an embodied spirituality and epistemology as pathways to establishing a new world where all may share in the fullness of life. Our mission is to promote the creation of new cultural practices and social and economic systems that are egalitarian, affirms our shared humanity, and holds sacred the earth and all life forms. To create a safe and sacred space where marginalized individuals and communities who may not have equal access to opportunities can connect up and expand both their spiritual and intellectual life and gain access to opportunities for personal growth through shared resources and support for developing spiritual gifts and intellectual pursuits. To honor the Sabbath as a time for individual and collective spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental well being through shared music, spoken word, sacred readings, and a communal meal when we are together in person. Our goal is to be a hub for conversations envisioning a new world order, creative arts expressions, emerging social entrepreneurships, promoting community owned sustainable food systems for access to healthy living, expanding reverence and care for the earth and all life forms, forming alliances and building bridges across community barriers that mutually affirm our shared humanity, and people of all faiths, cultures, ethnicities, races, genders, orientations, abilities, personal challenges, etc., to be in community with each other on one accord. Next, we have our sacred readings featuring Wes and Trav.
Grace. You fall from heaven. You only realize you have wings. When you gotta do your task, you must be better. To enlighten while wearing the mask. You find peace in self. Power to heal this world. Be blind and still reach your destination. You have flaws with perfection. I ain't got a reputation. Believe in manifestation. Be stronger than temptation. Be free to hack information. Change is just another word for inspiration. And message is a revelation. Humanitarian. You see the future and pride. You look at others and want to die. Destruction is a fact of a lie. You know, people who are suffering is a curse. one not better than the other. We turn toxic into peace. Self care is working. We truly need to bring peace. We can be awake and dream. Growth is a part of peace. We are all together within our eye and team. We're good for all, not just for one. Selflessness, selflessness is a strength, not a weakness. Take action into the species. Love is the foundation. Peace comes imagination. Hope. You pray when faith is lost. You stand with no legs. You see someone beg for help. The effects of being lost. You have a mouth with no words. You're giving a heart with no blood. You're giving ear to hear lies. To continue with no ending. To only see a hand in quicksand. It's a scary world when so many people pretending. To continue, then collapse. Face full of sweat, no breath from the body. White clothes, white clouds gather together. A beam of light hit his body. I watched your journey, my son. If you lost, I will give you back time 20, said God. Your body began to regenerate. What was lost is now found. What was quiet now has sound, said God. The light went back to the sky. Downpour rain. Slowly picked himself up and cried. Welcome home. You've been watching for a long time. So you've done so much and still have a clear heart. You came one time, but we give you a full start. What you've been through becomes beautiful art. Welcome home. This is the place the scars are going to testimony. And we both will be a ceremony. Welcome home. This is where you belong. Welcome to church.
Recognize that song.
Wonderful surprise, Wes. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thank you, Trav.
That was awesome. I remember singing that with Bettina when we were in our center together and we had our microphones singing it, and that was great. Yay! Okay, thank you for the memory. And thank you, Travis, for your poetry. We really appreciate it. It's beautiful. I really like hope. Um, so here we are. Let's transition. We are talking about destigmatizing mental health today. And this is a major part of women's health and women's history, especially because many times women are really looked at as quote unquote crazy or hysterical because of emotions that are natural. And that's something that we also want to kind of dig into today as well. We have Travis, if you're ready, if you'd like to, you could share your song. 21 questions.
Yeah, I have some questions.
Travis, before you go, your volume seems very low. I don't know if it's just me or if everyone else can hear him clearly.
Yes.
You're muted, Brendan.
Oh, it's like, just scream it. No.
Yeah, I don't know if you can turn your volume up a little bit. I was just having trouble hearing you before.
I'm good now?
Or go closer to it.
Yeah,
I'm good?
it's very low. But let's try. Let's do your best.
I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. Why don't you love yourself? Why do you hate yourself? How did you hurt yourself? Look into my eyes. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. My job is to get you to your higher self. Why do you doubt yourself? I hope you fix it. I hope you find it. When you find love, you will not float. You will not sink. You will fly. God gave you wings. You're damaged, but you're still beautiful inside. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. Why don't you love yourself? Why do you hate yourself? How did you hurt yourself? Look into my eyes. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. I have 21 questions for you. My job is to get you to your higher self. Why do you doubt yourself? That's it.
21 questions. Thank you, Trav.
Thank you.
I'm going to.
Thank you. All right. So today we are in our stigma-free zone, which I might say it could be impossible. This idea of having a safe space is not always a possibility, but we can consider it a sort of brave space where we allow ourselves to experience discomfort and acknowledge it and let it be. And from there, that is when we can start to transform our mindsets and be open to other opinions and other ways of understanding life and experience. So that is our goal. That is what we are aiming for. I put together some interesting articles and pieces that I found. So we'll just kind of go with the flow. If anything comes up for anyone, you're welcome to unmute and speak, or you can utilize the chat box. But one topic that I kind of wanted to start off with is this idea of identity first versus person first language. This is an article that a professor shared with us. And this image really, really stood out. This article in particular is about people with autism, and what their preferences are as a community. And you can see like this puzzle piece, the identity first is very much autistic person versus the person first language. The person, it takes the main stage, I guess, and a piece of them is that they have autism. I think there's a lot of controversy, I guess, back and forth about the use of language and what is politically correct and most respectful. However, what I really learned from this article was that it's up to the person, the individual who is identifying themselves. And the best way to get to that is to simply ask. So here are some quotes that I'll read that stood out. For people who prefer person-first language, the choice recognizes that a human is first and foremost a person. They have a disorder, but that disorder doesn't define them. And then on the other hand, for people who prefer identity-first language, the choice is about empowerment. It says that autism isn't something to be ashamed of. So again, this article was specifically about autism, but you can kind of interject any sort of identity or illness or disability. So you can see there's that difference. It's kind of, again, it's up to the individual. When in doubt, ask. Brown and Dudley, the authors, agree that it's the members of a particular community who should control their preference for identifying language. Different communities of actually disabled people or people with disabilities have different preferences, but as with any group, especially any group of marginalized people, it's the people who we're talking about who should be dictating what they're called. The same word that's empowering for some might be re traumatizing for others. So that's interesting. That's one thing I wanted to share with you all. And again, this image that I really keep in mind. And I think that by acknowledging that we don't always know the correct way to acknowledge or to address someone, that can help us to build trust and strength in a bond, in a relationship with someone, because you're being honest and genuine and respectfully curious, I think. And it's the same thing that you might consider with pronouns, what people identify with. Um, so this is something that's coming up a lot. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say about this particular topic?
I would just like to add first, thank you for sharing the article and sharing this visual. I think I don't know that we can go wrong if we always begin with we're first human beings before anything else. So we are a part of a human family of human beings. And if we first see the person and not all those other things, um, that's where we can begin. This is a member of the human family
Mm-hmm.
versus a label that says, oh, they're short, they're tall, they're fat, they're skinny, they're black, they're white, even they're male, they're female, or they're whatever, or they're disabled, or they are good looking, they are pretty, or they are ugly, whatever. If we start with that idea that this is a human being like myself, and if we can see the humanity, as we say here, the Christ in someone first, see that spirit, that human part of them, that divine part of them, really, that's bigger than the whatever limitations they have in their bodies, because bodies differ in all kinds of ways. Bodies differ. And so, if we want to reduce people to just their body, I think we miss that divinity that dwells within them. So, if we begin there, and as you said, Brenda, if we begin there, we honor them by then acknowledging how would you like to be addressed?
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to be identified? And then honor that, because as you said, what may be empowering for one person may not be for someone else.
Mm-hmm. We are the quote unquote experts of our own experience and our selfhood, our beinghood. We know ourselves best. And you can show respect by trusting another person's knowledge of self. I also think that our bodies are an extension of our souls. So
Yes,
to disregard and to label, as you were saying, is kind of like just leading back into your soul space, the light that is within you. How could you disregard that? Just because this is the physical form that my soul appears in, my being appears in, um, that doesn't mean that it's not a part of it.
yes.
It is an extension.
That again is key because we never want to dismiss the body as being irrelevant to who we are. But we can never also at the same time reduce ourselves to the body. The body is certainly the temple through which our soul and our experience is in this physical realm. But I wanted to just say before you move away from this slide, just connect this also to children and how we label children. You started off talking, I think this article is about autism, but often we'll put labels on children like you're bad or you're lazy or you're stupid. These kinds of things, as the visual shows, can become larger than the person, especially when we apply it to someone in their formative years. And
Mhm.
we don't ever want to shadow someone with a negative perception of who they are. Someone may be acting out in certain ways, but I think, as from an adult perspective, from a parenting or a ministerial or guardianship or a teacher perspective, we always have to call forth, as the second picture shows, the person first. There may be something else going on there, but that's not the totality of who you are. That may be behavior, that may be something that you are experiencing. I'm talking now especially for children. We want to never make this puzzle piece bigger than they are by assigning labels to them,
Mhm.
to limit them in who they are, certainly at an early age.
Over time, I've noticed this shift, or at least based on my trainings and what I've been taught, is to really lean towards person first language, especially working with clients that experience mental health or individuals that experience mental health issues. But I see also how the identity first could be normalizing for any sort of disorder or issue or literally anything, and empowering for a person. Um, so again, it really, really depends. Follow your instinct. If you
But
cannot ask, I would say lean towards person first, but be ready to be corrected or to adjust.
but
Would someone
Brenda,
else go ahead? Hi.
some when you use the word language, um, and how we communicate, it's good to note that
Please move
when
your hand.
we're
You want me to turn the camera on?
when
Yeah.
we're trying to listen to this process, it doesn't mean we're speaking, we're listening to hear how a person is representing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have gotten away from in the world we live in now is we don't listen, we talk abundantly, we text, we chat. But to communicate and use language, language is not just always in a form of words, there's body language. So learn to observe, learning to listen, because a person will tell you in a variety of ways, especially children. But are we listening?
That's a really, really good point. I would say more than half of communication is listening and observing and starting to process and understand that. That's a really beautiful thought. Thank you. Okay. I'll move on to the next piece. I actually want to go to this part first. We talked about this a little bit, the words pathologizing and over pathologizing. When I think of the word pathologize, I think of like um, something to an extreme. Something is a problem, something is wrong, something that needs to be fixed, someone that needs to be fixed, a disorder or a disability that needs to be healed. Um, and that's very much implying, again, that the human, the being within, is innately wrong or at dis-ease. And then you can get to over pathologizing, which I guess another way to put it would be over diagnosing. Um, and there's some, there's some like like who is benefiting from over diagnosing? That's something that I recently considered. Um, so I'll read some of these quotes and we'll continue. Um, there are increasing numbers of mental illnesses being defined, and as a result, more cases of mental health problems. Meaning there are new disorders and new diagnoses that are being created to describe a certain pattern or set of behaviors or symptoms. The handbook used by healthcare professionals in the United States and beyond to diagnose mental health disorders is the DSM, or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This is like the very, like almost like the quote unquote Bible for many psychologists and psychiatrists. So if you do see someone, they probably very, very likely utilize this guide. The DSM was originally published in 1952 with only 106 disorders. The American Psychiatric Association has continued to revise and expand the DSM ever since as we learn more about mental health. And now, there were 297 disorders listed in the fourth edition and 15 more added to the fifth. So at this point, we're at the fifth edition of this book, which originally came out in 1952. It's really interesting. I have it, and it's big, and it's chunky, and it's wordy. And you can go through all the categories of different disorders, like mood disorders, personality, things with anxiety, things with phobias, substance use. It is very interesting, but it's quite problematic, as I have learned. The increasing number of disorders naturally results in significantly more people reaching the criteria for diagnoses. So about 25% of the American public can be identified as having a mental illness. And that's interesting. I think that everyone has their experiences, their ups and downs with their mental wellness overall. But again, giving this pathologizing lens of how this is a problem that needs to be fixed, whether it be fixed with medication or whether it be fixed with talk therapy, or some sort of, for students in school, something like a behavior change or placing them in a special education class or something like that, which can in some ways be helpful because to address a problem, you have to identify it first, right? But at the same time, it could be a little too much, and consider how much are we trying to conform to a system that is not very, not very healthy anymore. A lot of something that I learned this year is a lot of the writers or the people who contribute to creating the DSM really benefit from the pharmaceutical industry. So if they are able to create all these disorders and say that you have, this amount of symptoms that you are experiencing are an issue and you need medication, then they benefit, they get money from it. So really considering the motives of the content and the content creators of this manual. That really just blew my mind. If anyone would like to speak, you're welcome to. I've been speaking a lot.
Yeah, I would just like to, I think this is an important conversation to have. And I don't want to at all, for those that are watching and listening and participating, to take this as an indictment against the mental health profession,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a wonderful field. They do wonderful work, and needed work. And this field has grown significantly over the last 100 years in the US and around the world. So, having said that, I also want to just add, what I get from this article and to lend to this conversation is that we have individualized to a large degree the pathology around mental health rather than looking at it from a systemic community or social disorder. And so, if we were to look at over the last 50 years how we've increased, as you shared, the number of diagnoses in the DMS, why don't we simultaneously, a parallel, look at society and how society has systemically continued to force fit people into boxes that creates these toxic relationships and unhealthy ways of being. So how is the goal here to try to fix the individual so they can force fit into a society that's dysfunctional? Or do we want to challenge the society to examine itself and to change? I mean, I think it's a parallel path, and I think we have to
Mm-hmm.
consider both possibilities when we're thinking about this. The other thought is this idea that's so deeply rooted in our Christian tradition is that we're born flawed. There's something wrong with us from birth that has to be repented of, forgiven of, redeemed, and saved. And as long as we begin at that place, we'll keep, I believe, creating people that act out on that narrative. Because if you, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell someone you were born flawed, you were born messed up, you were born sinful, you were born diseased from birth, they will perpetuate that narrative in their experiences. And society creates this environment for that to continue to be. Versus we are born human beings with our perfect imperfections. That's what it means to be a human being, perfectly imperfect. And that's the genius of the divine that created us, is that we were created in this beautiful way, that we are perfect as we are. We don't need redemption. We don't need salvation in that sense. We need salvation to save us from the dysfunction and pathology of this world we have created, and to restore us back to the divinity with which we are the inheritance of. And so I think we have to start thinking of it on two levels. We'll look at the individual and how the individual fits into society and how society contributes to the individual. So I'll pause there. I know there are others who may want to jump in.
I think your statement, Sandra, can hold for discussions for weeks. I mean, that was that's a lot to unravel. Um, when you look at the history of trying to define mental health and how it has progressed over the years, you'll see that it was to extremes where there was no diagnosis, and back in the day it was demonized through religion and through witchcraft and all these other things. And now it's, I believe it's over scientifically defined, where there's diagnosis for everything. And so what happens is you find yourself, and you've seen it, like right now, mostly, there was a time with children, everybody has ADD or ADHD. You know, there was a time when the Ritalin was the thing for kids, and now everybody's going through some form of depression and anxiety. And so it becomes those outliers where it becomes what's common diagnosis. One of the things I've always tried to do when approaching a client is hear and see the client. And then the second thing I try to help them see is whatever is going on within you, within your journey, is a gift. And it's how you accept that gift and navigate with that gift and see this world through your gift is how far you will go to understanding how amazing you are. Anxiety is a gift. There's inside of everything. I think Sandra put it amazingly, perfectly imperfect. And so we all have something that we are challenged with that we think takes us to the worst part of us. But I love that scripture that says beauty from ashes, because from that worst part of us brings out the beautiful part of us. And that's the gift, if we can understand that. That if we can understand even the things that we hear. I learned so much from my brother, James, and how he navigated the world with what his and how his brain worked, from remembering him as a 5-year-old to see him as he left this earth. And some things I didn't understand, didn't recognize, but just watching and observing him, and at the end of his life, how much there was so much still in him that he was still coming to terms with. And I could only imagine if he had found a place where he was allowed to be, to thrive and not be judged from what he heard or how he interpreted it, but to be able to Be with animals. That's why I love equine therapy. Horses help you with your emotions. Cats and dogs help you with the anxiety. Dogs with trauma. Pets have a way of doing things. Nature has a way of doing things that we as humans cannot. But when you put us in a box in a city, in a classroom, in an institutionalized structure, and think we're supposed to function in our mental health, that becomes a problem in itself environmentally.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of pieces to unravel and to take apart here, but just discussing about mental health and really removing the books, the DSM-5 and all those books, and identify for yourself, what is mental health? What does it mean for you to be mentally healthy?
Uh-huh.
What does it mean for you to be physically healthy? What does it mean to be emotionally healthy? What does it mean to be spiritually healthy? And I believe that's each individual's understanding in their own body what that looks like and what that is. And I can go on these topics. That's my area. So I'm going to sign off.
I just want to ask a question.
Okay.
The topic was dismantling fear. So how does fear play into the mental illness? I haven't heard any conversation about that. It was dismantling fear or destigmatizing mental illness. So how does fear play into all of this?
I mean, that's an excellent question. And so the topic, no longer a slave to fear.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just my perspective, and everyone else can jump in. And whenever we don't understand something, we fear it. Something that's unfamiliar to us, or something that we as human beings now as a community cannot quite wrap our minds around, we have a fear associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that as a negative against human beings, because that's part of our evolution. Before we understood what a lion was, we had to fear this because we felt like there was some danger there. So part of our society's approach to mental illness is to fear people who they feel are dealing with mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
They collectively, we're often afraid to be in groups with someone that is not, that we feel is mentally unstable. And we express that through our avoidance of them, through the things we say subtly, through the way we respond or treat them. Also, there's a fear within the person dealing with mental health of how others will respond to them. We had a few months ago, we did a live service and we had some very special guests from an organization. I won't name it because we ended up deleting the video, who themselves had experienced schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, depression, all levels of mental illness that you can name.
Mm-hmm.
They did not want us to record or to broadcast the video because, one, how will their communities respond to them? They're both
Right.
professional people. They have advanced degrees.
Mm-hmm.
One of them does. She works in the field of education. How will my community respond to me if they know this about me?
Right.
And so I wanted to take us back to the quote that Brenda opened with. And it says, no one would ever say that someone with a broken arm or a broken leg is less than a whole person. But people say that or imply that all the time about people with mental illness. This quote is from a woman named Elaine R. Sachs. She's a practicing psychologist who's also schizophrenic and has dealt with this all of her life. So she writes and speaks about this from someone who deals with mental health illness issues, who treats people with mental health issues, and understands the fear and the stigma and the trauma associated with even approaching that. I mean, you can tell someone you have cancer, you can tell someone you have AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to treat you the same way if you say, I'm dealing with schizophrenia, I hear voices. It's a whole different level of how they will respond to you. And you can lose your job, you can lose friends, you can be shunned. Our churches, very few, if any, have a ministry that's about addressing mental health and wellness. Very few, because we still demonize it within religious institutions. There's a demon you have, and we don't position it like the broken leg or cancer or any other kind of illness. So, any someone else, Beverly, I hope maybe that was helpful. I would like to hear what your thought is on this idea of fear associated with it.
Well, um, I think that fear is a very dominating factor in um, in life. There are people who, and I've heard it. I think it's commendable that someone that is diagnosed with schizophrenia is able to be a therapy for those who have it. I think that that means there's some work. This person had to step beyond fear in order to be able to do that. But I've heard that I had a friend who was by occupation a psychiatrist, but could diagnose and work with other people, but could not help himself. So, and I always felt like there was a fear factor there, that he could not get beyond the fear of looking into his own life, but he could look into other people's lives. So I think that I think fear keeps us bound in a lot of areas, not only in our mental illness, but in our full walk of life. We just are afraid to live. So we just regress. But I think fear, I just thought it was powerful because I was waiting to hear how we were going to connect the fear with the mental illness. And that's why I raised the question, because there are people, because biblically, mental illness was demonized. You were not, you had a demon, you were possessed. And now, and then interesting, she brought up the book, the Bible for mental health, and it just gets larger and larger and larger as people try to classify and say this is what's going on and that's what's going on. But I think until we can recognize that we are fearful, and there's many different types of fear, that we are fearful and deal with what we are afraid of, and a lot of that is within ourselves, so that we can step into even dealing with mental illness, abuse, anything that we deal with in life, our relationships. We've got to conquer fear, or be able to recognize I'm acting out of fear.
Well
Well,
said, Beverly. Thank you.
I think, Beverly, one of the valid points you brought up is what we're not acknowledging
Yeah.
is that fear is a symptom of mental health.
Yeah.
My work with anxiety, one of the root things I work to get through is what fears do you wake up and go to bed with every single day that you don't talk about? Because anxiety is going to keep building and building and building. Again, mentally, fear is truly false evidence appearing real.
Right.
And what we don't understand, there's a great book out there called The Gift of Fear. There's two different types of fear. The Gift of Fear breaks it down in that book that we are created innately. And I never can say that word, starts with an A. I'm the part of the brain, maybe Brendan knows the word, is that long A word in the part of the brain where you fight, flight, or
Amygdala.
freeze.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
amygdala.
Yeah, my favorite word that tongue twists me. But it fight, flight, or freeze. That is innately embedded in our brain for our body to respond in a healthy manner to danger. We're created that way. But when we in mental health go to that place where we overuse anything and get hypervigilant, it's overused. We're living in a hypervigilant state where we're always on alert. We're always jumping. That's mental health. That's a problem there. You have not deregulated or ground yourself to come back down to where it should be, not hypo or hyper. Depression goes to hypo.
Evangeline, would you say though that part of that hypervigilance that we all live with is this crazy kind of world we have created? I mean, I would love to just, stroll on acres of land, sit out on the porch, drink lemonade in the afternoon, kick my feet up, read a good book and chill. But we're so caught up in this world that we are, Monday to Friday, you're rushing, 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 rushing. You got this deadline, this report, this to do, that to do. By the time the weekend comes, then you're trying to finish up all the things you couldn't do during the week. Then it's Sunday. And if you have a faith community, you try to be with them to give you some energy to go on for the next week, but we're constantly in this state of just rushing, 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 rushing to where? To grade? What is it all about? And where does it stop? And when you talk with your clients, I know you can't say specifically, but in your view, how do we balance this hyper vigilant world we're living in? Technology is we're trying to keep up with that. We're constantly chasing the next this, that. How do we just keep up with it all?
Well, there's a reason we get on that horse and ride it. There's a reason we ride that hamster wheel. Society is made up in the things that we're choosing to do. And so what is driving us? And what we don't acknowledge is the trauma, the crisis in our lives that have not been resolved, the trauma that is still living in our bodies that we have suppressed mentally. But now the way we deal with them, we want to run like a racehorse. We're running from ourselves. And so when we realize everything we do is interconnected, so when we're willing to stop, ground ourselves, sit in that safe place, we can unravel. And we'll realize that fear pushes us. Fear can drive us. Fear can have us running from our shadow.
Well, I used
and
to
there's
do
nothing
that.
there.
So true. So true. Wow.
So again, a lot of components, but I am so sad. I'm conflicted because I love to stay, but my grandson's birthday just started his parade.
Thank you for contributing. Thank you for contributing.
I sure hope we continue this conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's interesting. Thank you.
All right. So it's 1:08.
Wow.
Wow, that was fast.
It was fast. And there's more, but we'll save it for another time. I figured we can close out with a poem.
Did you want to do the little video that you had?
It's cute. I was like, maybe we could choose one or the other, not both.
Oh, okay. All right. Either way, you lead. You decide.
I don't know. What does everyone feel like? You want a little song or you want a little poem?
However you feel. There were a few males. I know Travis is on. Brother Jason. I don't know if his audio is right. Brother Floyd is on, and Wes. I just wanted to hear maybe just quickly from a male perspective this idea of dealing with mental health and balancing life, and being caught up in the chase, and how do you ground yourself, from a male perspective, and trying to maintain a balance of mental health and wellness in this crazy kind of world, especially the world the year we've just come through in 2020.
Well,
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'll speak from my perspective. I just told my wife. My wife just told me there's a lot of things going on with her. And I told her she was much better than me because she could express it. As a male, I was raised, you didn't express it. You just fight through it. And I fought through it and I had a stroke. The stroke is because of stress. Stress that I didn't relieve. I didn't take time for myself. I didn't use the tools that was available to me for me to get better. And my wife, at least she can express it. I could express it because I thought, from a male perspective, and I could be wrong, that you didn't, maybe it's the generation I grew up in. You didn't say nothing was wrong with you. You just kept going. As a matter of fact, the day I had a stroke, I took a man from my church to Jersey City thinking I was all right. And only God got me back in time to have a stroke in front of my wife. All I can say is, especially with mental health, you got to take it seriously. You got to take your life seriously. And with men in this day and time, we're told to be something that we're not. We're vulnerable. We hurt. We bleed on a daily basis. So we got to say it. We gotta recognize it. And we gotta recognize that we hurt. And that it's real, man. That's that's all I got.
Wow. Thank you, Reverend Floyd, for that passionate those passionate words. Thank you so much. And I know we just have a couple of minutes and maybe we'll just do the poem and end, Brenda. I just wanted to see if Trav or Wes wanted to weigh in. I know Wes this morning had an experience that may have sent some people over the edge. And I was just somewhat, amazed at how calm he seemed. I didn't know if that's how he felt inside, but it's certainly how he expressed himself when we were talking about what he had just experienced. I would just like to, if you want to weigh in quickly, Wes, and say, dealing with and balancing the craziness. How do you do it?
I don't know if I do it right. We just have to learn it. But that experience, like of having your being robbed. Uh, I think this is probably the fourth time that it happened with me in my life, or something. It used to happen more in my country originally. Over here is probably the second. And eventually, you gotta see the good sides of it. Like, I'm still here. I can talk to all of you guys. I'm seeing all of your faces. Still, nothing happened. And I think also, when you don't have, no, if you don't try to not take that kind of energy, and we can see the positive side of everything. And it also, I was like very confused because I was having an idea of trying to be in my van full time. And after that happened, it like showed me, maybe don't go that way, maybe don't go that way. So I took like what happened with me as a like just something telling me, like, well, you should think about other sides of it. So that's why I didn't get like upset. I was just like, okay, upset, I got it, of course I got upset. But I mean, I took as a like something telling me that, like, oh, think better about the decisions you're gonna take. I think that was amazing, the right time, because I was about to buy a bigger van the other day, and I didn't buy it. So it didn't help me to not get thinking the world is against me or something like that.
Wow. That's an awesome perspective. Awesome perspective. Thank you, Wes. And then I know we're out of time. Um, Brenda, I don't know, Trav, if you have something quick you want to share with us. And I know Brother Jason has been going in and out. We have like 2 minutes or 3 minutes left. Um, so if you do, just unmute quickly. If not, Brenda, we'll just close out with, if you want to do the poem, and then we'll do our announcements and welcome, how to connect with Triumph.
Okay, I will read the poem. It is called Her Kind by Anne Sexton.
No. Oh.
I have gone out, a possessed witch, haunting the black air, braver at night, dreaming evil. I have done my hitch over the plain houses, light by light. Lonely thing, 12-fingered, out of mind. A woman like that is not a woman quite. I have been her kind. I have found the warm caves in the woods, filled them with skillets, carvings, shelves, closets, silks, innumerable goods, fixed the suppers for the worms and the elves, whining, rearranging the disaligned. A woman like that is misunderstood. I have been her kind. I have ridden in your cart, driver, waved my nude arms at villages going by, learning the last bright roots, survivor, where your flames still bite my thigh and my ribs crack where your wheels wind. A woman like that is not ashamed to die. I have been her kind. And again, that's by Anne.
Wow.
It's a really beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll just put this in here if anyone wants to look at it. And let me open the screen. This is what she looks like on the side, by the way. And go ahead, Trav, you could please read.
invitation to join tribe. And how you become part of tribe family. You can become a member of tribe or start a tribe charter group in your community. Email us and request more information. We are forming groups virtually throughout the country, and you become a spiritual leader and healer in this movement. You are one part tribe, you are still family. And we would like to reconnect. We would love to welcome you back home. Email us and let us know you would like to reconnect with your tribe family, and we will show you how. Your church or faith community can also become part of our tribe family as a friend of triumph and share in the life of this community. Email us and request more information at tribeandlifecenter@gmail.com. You can also support our ongoing mission of healing, educating, inspiring, and creating new ways of being through community through financial donation, which are tax deductible, and our cash out $ Triumph 2020, or mail to Triumph to Trust in the New Age, P.O. Box 2157, Newark, New Jersey. 07114.
Thank you, Travis. And thank you, everyone, for supporting our mission. Thank you so much. Some final announcements. We have our resource guide. A lot of the information that we shared here will be added to it. We have our social media pages as usual. We have our newsletter from January, February. If you didn't receive it, we can mail it or email it to you. It came out really beautifully and it's interesting. It's a nice read. So feel free. Let us know if you would like a copy. Again, contact us at triumphlifecenter@gmail.com if there's any resources, support, ideas, suggestions, questions you have for us. As always, continue to please social distance, wear your mask, consider getting the vaccine, and decide if that is a right step for you and your family. Some words to live by. For this week, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor can we be perfected without adversity. Ooh. Okay. Take it away, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
That was so beautiful. I want to
Yes,
sing that song now.
awesome.
Let us pray. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end war, for we know that you have made the world in a way that people must find their own path to peace within themselves and with their neighbors. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end starvation, for you have already given us the resources with which to feed the entire world if we would only use them wisely. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to root out prejudice, for you have already given us eyes with which to see the good in all people, if we would only use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end despair, For you have already given us the power to clear away slums and to give hope if we would only use our power justly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end disease, for you have already given us great minds with which to search out cures and healing if we would only use them constructively. Therefore, we pray to you instead, O God, for strength, determination, and willpower to do instead of just pray, to become instead of merely to wish. Thank you for joining us today.
Ashe. Thank you, everyone. Be well, stay safe. We love you. Look to see you next week. Have a great afternoon.